All right, legends, we are back. Appreciate Hassani doing that for you guys. All right, now here's a little bit of a few Q&As that I had once Hassani had sent me the first set of videos, and I said, like, wait a minute, there's some questions that I have, and probably a lot of the legends are going to have as well. Anyhow, let's go. So, when you take a loan out and repay it, does this increase the amount of borrowable funds that you have? Yes, it does. So if you borrow $100,000, you pay it back. And over that amount of time, say it took you 6 months to pay it back, and it increased another 100,000, now you have $200,000 to borrow. So yes, it does. What is the standard test? He said, what disqualifies a person during testing? The standard life insurance test, which is blood and urine, but the big three that determine your qualification is your driving record, your health record, and your criminal record. Don't ask me why. All right, so what's the next option if the person can't qualify? So we'll use this scenario. All right, so L7, you don't qualify. You're not healthy enough. Okay, well, so then I would use my wife. She's not healthy enough. Miss L7 is not healthy enough either. Okay, so then next would be my grown children, my daughter or my son. So that would be the next option. Okay, can the LLC or corporation own the policy? Yes, they can. And the insured is whoever you choose, as long as they're in relationship to the company, meaning technically the people that you choose or the person that you choose need to be on the documentation for the LLC or the corporation. Who pays for the kids and the grandkids policy? This was really important to me due to the fact that I want to ensure that my kids are on there as well as my grandbaby. And it says, ideally, you pay for it out of your pocket. No problem. I'll create a faucet for it, or I'll get a new BBB NFT and pay for it. No problem. Now, what is the youngest age for a policy? And again, because I'm referring to my grandbaby, you can get a policy for someone as young as 2 weeks old, and it will last as long as they live, assuming that it's funded properly. Of course, funding it properly is making sure that the payment is there that's required by the insurance company. All right, is there a minimum funding or policy amount? The amount of the policy doesn't matter. What matters is how much you'll fund for each, and then they customize it to our whatever we need. Who should the beneficiary of the policy be? The trust should be the beneficiary. And if you don't have one, that's okay. You can change it later. And the reason that you want the trust to be there, because the trust is going to outlive everybody else. So if say it's in my name, then I pass away next year, then we got issues. But if it's in CTB Trust, or CTB Trust is the beneficiary, then whoever I pass, the money goes there. My wife passed, the money goes to CTB Trust, cash flow the bull. And then the kids pass, both of them, all three of them, then all that money will still go to the CTB Trust. That's the way you want to fix it, or that's the way you want it to operate. Now, if you use your LLC or your company, who will pay for the policy? That's up to you, or your company pays for it. So if you want to put it in the bylines or make it an expense from your LLC or your corporation, you can do that. Then, of course, just give that to your accountant and say, hey, this is for insurance or for your policy. All right, so we were given the DIY Infinite Bank Audit Guide. Now, this is how to properly fund your bank. This is really, really important here. So there's a DIY checklist. So there's certain questions that if you decide to go with another company, there are certain questions that you want to ask this other company. So these are the 6 questions here at the bottom, as well as what's the original policy for? What's the type of insurances, and what is the protection that you're going to get? Then the cash accumulation and all that kind of good stuff. And then, now what to say? Now you're about to call your insurance company. Remember, sometimes insurance companies have their own language or poorly trained receptionists. Now, legends, I understand. Good example. If I say, hey, I'm not going to be making any videos because I have to go TDY and I'll be down in the AOR for at least 160 days. How many of you are going to understand what I'm talking about using Air Force or military speaking? Not too many. Same thing when you go to court. You have the court, you have the jury, you have the findings, you have the trial, you have the sequestering. There's a lot of legal terms that go there. That's the same with knowing the language of insurance companies. So here's a few examples. The loan type. They'll be like, okay, well, what type of loans are available on this account? The loan interest rate. What are the current interest rates for the loan? 7 pay, what is the maximum I can put into account per year and for how long? So these are certain items that you really need to understand. Now, like he says, understand the language in order to best understand how to enhance your bank, because it's all about the funding. So you have the max fund, the target, and the floor. So your target is your funding commitment. So your target, we'll say, is $50,000. Your max fund is the ceiling of your contributions. So your target was 50,000. You ended up putting an additional 50,000. So you overfunded it $50,000 and now you're maxed out at 100,000. Then you have your floor. The overfund is any amount over your target, which was the 50,000. Then you have the floor, which is the minimum you can contribute. So the policy says the minimum you can contribute is $10,000. That's the minimum you want to hit. You have to hit that amount because that is the minimum you can contribute without your bank lapsing. So if you only hit 9,000, you just failed your account. You failed the family. It's just that simple. Now, overfunding could be synonymous with the front load. The minor difference is just front load is a method of putting lump sums into the account one or multiple times, while overfunding can be a consistent contribution over the target. So so my goal is to fund it as fast as possible. Whether my goal is to have at least $100,000 for the family to get out, $250,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, whatever that goal is, that's what I want to hit as fast as possible. Because you never know when the kids are going to need it or whatever. Like I said, the last thing I want to do is have my kids have to be going into Citibank, Wells Fargo, or Chase asking for some money, or Bank of America. No. They're going to go anywhere. They're going to go to CTB Bank and take the funds out of there for whatever they need. Now, I covered the bottom of okay. Now here, so what Hassani and the team did, they simplified everything. So the rhyme will save you time. So again, we did the same things we had. Remember, the target is your funding commitments, which was 50,000. Fund in the green, your bank is a money machine. That's the green is up here, is that overfunding, right up here. Fund in the yellow, your bank is mellow. You fund in the red, your bank is dead. You're so close, you're under the floor. If you're in the red, you're pretty much under the floor because you didn't put in there the required amount and you let your account lapse. You don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to do that. The goal is your goal is to really overfund it. So summary, in order to create an infinite bank, your job is to overfund, fund in yellow or green. This is the way you get the maximum benefit. That's what it's all about. Now, the infinite banking cycle. So you see Hassani here pointing to the infinite banking cycle. So here's a good example. We just got out of one of the rental pools or services pool, or you just maxed out one of your wallets in drip. So now you say, well, I have 100,000 sitting here. Let me take this out and go ahead and deposit into my insurance policy. So you put that into your insurance policy. 2 months later, you're driving by a duplex. You're like, oh man, that looks like a good investment there. So you call up your agent and say, hey, I want to borrow $30,000 from my account. No problem. You have 100,000 available. Okay, so you get the 30,000, you take 10,000, put down on it, take the other 20,000 and do the rehab to make sure the building is in its best position. That's taking your funds and investing into an IPA or income producing assets, which I stated way back in the beginning. And this is the demand for it because you want income producing assets because the duplex is going to pay the account back, not you. Now you having to stay at work and work in order to put that $30,000 back in there. Let the duplex put it in there. But the big thing is that you put the $100,000 into your policy, you took the $30,000 out, but you still have $100,000 in there earning 6% a year. This is the infinite banking cycle. This is the only type of rat race you want to be on. And this is similar to our COPs, our circles of prosperity that we used in our Mission Possible series, where you put the funds in and it goes to another location, and a smidgen of it goes back. But this is even better because you're still getting interest on the 100,000, even though you borrowed 30,000 of it. Now, DRIP is similar to this due to the fact that if you take your DRIP account, a brand new one, we'll just go with a brand new one, you put $50,000 into that DRIP account, you're going to receive 1% every single day of the $50,000. In 6 months, you're still going to receive 1% of the $50,000, of course, depending on the value, but we're just saying that it stayed the same. So 90 days later, 6 months later, it's still going to be 1% of the $50,000. It doesn't change day by day. Okay. Now, here's some skits with Hassani. He's going to pass on some more information for you. Let's engage.
What's wrong? I'm stressing, man. I don't know if I should get my trust or my infinite bank first. Oh, man, you don't have to worry about that. If you were to get your life insurance first, as the owner, you have the right to change owners at any time. So you can get your life insurance and then change the ownership to the trust later. Really? How do you do that? Basically, what will happen is you'll call into the insurance company and let them know you want a change of ownership form. And sometimes different companies have different styles of how they want to do it. So you can actually have them walk you through the process of how to fill out the application to put on a new owner. Oh, okay. Now, the only thing you got to be aware of is that once your trust is the owner, you don't have the ability to check in on everything yourself. Only your trust does, and whoever's the trustee. I guess I should follow H.D. Houston for more, huh?
So back in the day when I first learned about infinite banking, I met this guy at the wealth seminar, and he was actually the guy who made infinite banking like real for me. So I walked up to him and I was like, hey man, like, okay, infinite banking works, but how do you make money? And he turned to me and he said, how do I make money? It's simple. I max funded an insurance contract. I created a partnership with a BMW dealership. And now people buy cars through my life insurance. They get a loan through my life insurance. They pay my life insurance back. If they crash the car, I have insurance. If they run off with the car, I repossess it. So it's a good deal all the way around. I'm a lawyer, draft up the paperwork. So at that point, I'm stunned and I'm like, wow, like it works like that? You could do that? I'm in. Want to learn more about that? Text free to this number right here. See if you can sign up for our network.
Something fishy's going on. So I want you to go on a journey with me and then tell me your comments at the end. So according to a study by JP Morgan Chase, it's estimated that there's a $550 billion move from smaller and regional banks to big banks. You want to know what big banks? We got you. According to CNN, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup. And this one, by the way, is just crazy to me. And we'll talk about that another time. Now, what makes this interesting is if you go to Google and you type in high yield savings accounts 2023, this is what you find. PNC Bank, 4.5. Citizens Bank, 4.5. All right. SoFi, 4.3. Can't see the one up there. But then look what happens. This top one is Wells Fargo. The bottom one is Bank of America. Look at the interest rates. And to top it off, if you Google Citi savings account, look at this, 0.05. Not only that, they brag about it. Look what I'm telling you. They said this is higher than such competing banks like Bank of America, Chase, and etc. So then the question becomes, in our fear of banks shutting down, especially if we had less than $250,000, we moved our money to bigger banks only to get less money. This is one of the reasons why I think insurance accounts with guaranteed interest or where you can leverage the stock market are better alternatives. But I'd like to hear your thoughts about it.
Comment below. Should be the owner, but does that mean they should be the insured too? I understand your question, but no. So how would that work? The only person that could be an insured is a living, breathing, or natural person. Oh, okay. Because remember, the insurance company most of the time is going to run a physical. Well, they need a physical human being to run vitals on. Okay. Now, what your trust can be in addition to an owner, your trust can be an owner, a beneficiary, and a payer. So you can have all three of those. And usually when you have all three of those, that means you're removing the life insurance from your estate.
That's very important. That's a talk for another time. Well, if I want to follow up with more information, how can I learn more about this? Oh, yeah. Well, if you want to learn more about this, just follow for more.
I got my money inside of a 401k, but this compound interest ain't compounding. What's up with that? Let me tell you why. Because one of the most powerful concepts of compound interest is uninterrupted growth. The two biggest forms of interruption is losing your money in the market and user withdrawal. Well, what you mean? When it comes to your 401k, you're constantly losing money. You might want to check out one of these other vehicles that you can use where you don't lose your money. You can still grow tax-free, you can withdraw tax-free, and you can pass on tax-free. Well, shoot, I might need to check it out. You know what I mean? Because I'm Brother Jamal, and I want the answers. I want them all.
What is this you are looking at? It is the example of simple versus compound interest. As you notice, the blue line is very flat in the long run. Why? Because you only earn interest on your principal. Whereas compound, the orange line, your interest is earning interest. I don't always talk about money, but when I do, I make sure it's compounding. Stay growing, my friend.
Stop scrolling. This is crazy. Listen up. Some of these insurance companies, they don't like you talking about infinite banking. But let me tell you why. Liability. What do I mean by that? For infinite banking to work, you have to understand a couple of things. Number one, you have to understand interest rates. You have to understand the concepts of loans and debts. You have to understand the concept of borrowing against those loans and debts and purchasing income producing assets and not using that money irresponsibly for other debts. For example, check this out. According to CNBC, only 60% of Americans even know what credit is and how it's determined. And according to Business Insider, the average credit score in America is 714. The highest score is 850. Let's say the average person who does not have financial literacy tries to get involved with infinite banking and then the policy goes wrong and then it lapses. You just cost the insurance company money. So needless to say, infinite banking isn't exactly for everybody. If only there was a way to just learn more about insurance, that way you could feel more comfortable with something like infinite banking, but also understand it may not be for you now, but you could at least be aware of the concept and prepare for it later. Where would you learn something like that? Text course to this number below.
We are back. So now, before we conclude, I want to ensure that I give you the contact information and ways for you to get additional information from Hassani. So here is his Facebook page. It's facebook.com, of course, Hassani.Houston. I'll have the links in the description. Matter of fact, boom, here you go. All the links will be here. So what I'll do, I'll have the Linktree link right here at the bottom. Inside of the description, just click on that. This will pop up. Then you have access to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and his YouTube channel. Now, with this, you can, of course, get additional information on what is infinite banking. You can book a consultation if you're interested in infinite banking. This is the course that I was referring to that he created, Spend the Same Dollar Twice. It's a really, really great course. It even goes into the mindset and everything. So you know how I am on the mindset. Then, of course, the last one here is the life insurance consultation just for regular insurance and not for the infinite banking. Now, in reference to our reading list, what got me interested in banking on yourself was this book right here to the left, Pamela Yellen's book. I purchased it in 2017. I think at first I had got it on Kindle. Then I was like, no, this is too interesting. I needed it in paperback. So then I ordered the paperback one. Then when the paperback came like a packet inside with some additional information, some stories of other people that had done the banking on yourself and created their own bank and all that kind of good stuff. So I filled out something on the website, and then one of our team members named Christian, I think, reached out to me, sent me 3 different scenarios of you deposit this much for this long. This is how much I'll be able to draw. And she sent me 3 different examples. And then she even actually sent me one for my son, which was 17, I guess, at the time. And I was like, okay, yeah. Then, of course, over time, you hear more and more and more about it. And I'm like, I should have did it when I back then. Shoot, I'd have it already 4 years, but it's all good. I'm going to get it now. So what I'm reading, of course, then the one in the middle is Becoming Your Own Banker, the infinite banking concept. And then I'm reading this one now by Gary Gunderson, which is What Would the Rockefellers Do? This is one of those hidden secrets. This is how the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Trumps, the Waltons, the Kennedys, um, man, the Buffetts, the Mungers, the all of those rich families. This is how they keep it in the family. And one special thing here, about a week ago, I was watching TV and they were talking about Walt Disney when he was ready to try to get the Disney in California. So of course, first he went to his brothers. I think he had two brothers, and they was like, no, 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 no. That's too big. They didn't have the vision. So both of them told him no. So then he went to the bank. Every bank he went to told him no. So what did Walt Disney do? He went into his infinite banking account, borrowed the money from his insurance policy, and lo and behold, now we have Disneyland. It's just, that's what I'm saying. That is the perfect example of just how powerful it can be for you and your legacy when they don't have to worry about going to a bank and whining to the bank and having to present all kind of documentation. I need W-2s, I need tax returns, I need your left kidney, I need your right kidney, I need everything, and 10 toes. Not even necessary. They just come to you, legend. I need blankety blank thousands of dollars to open up my garage, my mechanic shop. Okay, here you go. Especially as long as they got a policy and they're insured. So if they don't pay it back, the insurance policy will pay it back itself. Should they pass, it's all good. That's what I'm talking about. Anyhow, always remember that this is for informational, educational purposes only. This is never, ever, 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 ever intended as any type of financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor. However, this is the one video that is different because Hassani is qualified to talk about infinite banking because he had the certifications and all the education that's necessary to do it. So this one is an exception to the rule, but it's not me giving the financial advice. It's Hassani giving it. I'm just presenting it to the legends. And as always, remember that this is an individual endeavor. Always do what's best for you, your family, and your family's finances. Always, always, always. So on our brief, we heard from Hassani. Now you know exactly what being your own bank and infinite banking is and what it can actually do for you. We had a Q&A. We had the audit guide. We talked about the bank cycle. You had the skits from Hassani acting crazy. He's a really, really good guy. And like I said, that mentorship is amazing. The amount of people that I've met and what they do, it's just amazing. His contact information and the recommended reading. So all I ask is that you please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And to all of my legends, thank you for your time. And always continue to increase your knowledge and reduce your risk. And engage.